Lady Olivia is introduced in Amphibia as the regal, royal, proper lady, whose standards of manners Anne and Marcy regularly transgress against. Yunnan is introduced as the impossibly arrogant general who cannot resist saying her name every time she has the opportunity to do so, and she is the one who is trying to hunt down Sasha and Grime, and Sasha eventually foils her simply by appealing to her arrogance and causing her to lose her focus. She's repeating her name, and then Sasha takes advantage of that. Now, these are both memorable characters, and based on how much effort was clearly poured into their designs, I expected from the first time I saw these characters that they were going to be important later on the line. But exactly what roles those characters would play, I was not quite sure about. I saw quite a few theories floating around back in the day that Lady Olivia was secretly the big villain of Amphibia, and that she was the one manipulating Andrias. That obviously did not turn out to be the case, though I would love to see an alternate scenario where that did happen. That would be wild. Instead, Yunan and Olivia become quite close. I would not be surprised if they eventually become romantically involved, and not just because the fans are crying out for that to happen. They're put together by circumstance, with them both having to turn against Andrias when they learn how vile and megalomaniacal he truly is. Lady Olivia has been keeping this kingdom running. She's been helping and advising Andrias, and for what? And Yunnan has devoted her entire life to being at the top of this military hierarchy. And now that she's at the top, she realizes that that whole system is just hopelessly corrupt. So they turn against Andrias, and they somehow still are able to pledge loyalty to him after the battle is over. Now, I've seen some people suggest that this could be just Andrias' affable way of pressuring them into resubmitting to his regime, but it's also possible that Andrias simply believes that they are still going to be on his side even after they turned against him, and that would not be a very smart decision made on Andrias' part. And Yunan and Olivia, after the battle, are going to make it their mission to save Marcy, but they are going to need to save her carefully. Though Marcy does not technically die after Andrias stabs her through the chest in true colors, the show makes it very apparent that she was going to die very soon had Andrias not placed her in that regenerative chamber that apparently had already been prepared for her, which in itself is kind of strange. Marcy is going to be used as a vessel for Andrias' master, the strange bug creature with the deep voice that might be our final villain, and Yunan and Olivia are going to be driven by their moral compasses to try to save Marcy from such an abysmal fate. Will they succeed? It is not going to be easy for them, especially since they have no help. If they do try to rescue Marcy now, they are going to have to do it without the help of Sasha and the forces she's marshaled up in Wartwood. I really want to see Sasha be a part of the Marcy rescue, if only so we can see more Sasha and Marcy scenes. We've gotten so much Anne and Sasha and so much Anne and Marcy, but very little Sasha and Marcy. I want to see more of their dynamic. I am kind of annoyed that we have gotten more about their dynamic from interviews than from the actual show itself, so hopefully that changes. Sasha is still uniting all her forces against Andrias, She does not yet appear ready to strike, but that could change quickly. Sasha's storyline moves very quickly. One could argue that her storyline moves too quickly, especially in comparison to the amount of time we spend on the planters just doing mundane activities on Earth. It is nonetheless the case that Sasha is in an interesting position where she is going to be able to help Marcy in a way that Anne cannot. But that is still going to take some time. There would probably need to be an episode or two to transition Sasha from where she is now to being at a point where she is ready to step in and save Marcy. I mean, you'd at least hope we'd get that 1 or 2 episodes. It would seem very random and strange if Sasha just went from being where she is now to launching the attack on Andrias' castle without any in-between, without any moments of her even interacting with the villagers of Amphibia. But looking at the upcoming episodes for the show, it does not seem like we are going to be getting a Sasha episode again anytime soon. This might be like Season 2A of Amphibia, where we see Sasha a grand total of 1 time, and then she disappears until the back half of the season. I hope not, but considering how many of the upcoming episodes focus on Anne and the planters, it does not seem like we're going to be getting a lot of Sasha. So by the time Yunan and Olivia try to rescue Marcy, which will probably happen in the episode Yunan and Olivia, it's possible that Sasha and her forces will not yet be ready to assist them. So, acting without the help of the very strategically minded Sasha, does the dynamic duo of Yunan and Olivia have a good chance to help save Marcy? In the trailer, we already see them try to escape with Marcy, but I believe that their escape will fail. This belief is entirely for narrative reasons. Marcy is in a terrible position right now, and she's absolutely isolated and alone, which is the fate she feared the most. Anne was the one who was supposed to be that kind one, the empathetic one, the one looking out for her friends, and yet she completely ignored Marcy's actual wants and desires, to the extent that she left Marcy open to Andrias' manipulation when she went ahead and ran away from Marcy the first chance she got, just to go back and be with the planters. Sasha expresses guilt that she had to leave Marcy behind, even though she knew that she had to escape with her own life intact. Sasha blames herself for Marcy's death, which is not really fair. Either of the two of them, Anne and Sasha, are to blame. It's Anne. Anne's the one who gave the box to Andrias. Anne's the one who refused to listen to Sasha talking about how manipulative and cruel Andrias was. There's not really anything Sasha could have reasonably done unless you expect her to have not gone ahead with the Toad's plan to invade the castle. And even if she hadn't done that, I really don't see how that would have kept Marcy alive. But anyway, both of them need to see what's happened to Marcy, because Marcy's fate matters that much to them and their perspectives and their characters. Marcy was so upbeat, she was so energetic, she was so appreciative of her position in Amphibia and the everyday life she had there, serving an important role as a ranger of the Utopian Guard, but also fixing the infrastructure, the roads and the sewers of the city. She loved it there, and now she's become a cackling servant of darkness. That is disconcerting, even though it's only because she was possessed by Andrias' master, most likely. It's still a very disquieting image to see. But it matters less whether it's disquieting to us and more that it's disquieting to Anne and Sasha, because these are the people who are close to Marcy. These are the people who have developed long-lasting relationships with Marcy. They are the people who would be most affected emotionally to see the abysmal fate that has become of Marcy. Anne feels guilt to a certain extent for what happened to Marcy. She still does not want to process Marcy's death. She still does not want to contemplate her own role in Marcy's death. And Sasha, even if I'd argue Sasha a little too guilty, Sasha views herself as a protector. She views herself as the one who's always there improving the lives of her friends, or at least that's her ideal. That's what she wants to achieve, and by allowing Marcy to die, she's failed badly in that goal. She's failed badly in her pursuit of that goal. It's nothing less than a complete systematic failure for both Sasha and Anne, and they need to really wallow in that narratively. It needs to affect them. So what I think will happen will be some variation of the following scenario. Olivia is the strategic one, and Yunnan is the great warrior, so they will come up with a smart strategy to outmaneuver Andrias and save Marcy. This strategy will appear at first to work. They will have Marcy's body in their hands, and they will be trying to escape the castle. But then a force they did not expect will undermine their schemes. I highly suspect this will be some manifestation of Andrias' master, whom I do not believe Yunan and Olivia know much about. They know a lot about Andrias, but not a lot about his master. So even if they outsmart Andrias, his master will catch Yunan and Olivia, and Marcy will not get to escape. I want to see more of this master, who has received very little screen time since the end of the First Temple. Hopefully, even if the worst comes to pass, Yunan and Olivia will survive. They will thrive after the end of the war. They will rule Amphibia together, and they will live a happy life together. I want the best for them, but it is not going to be an easy road for them going forward. So thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon if you can, and you want to see more videos like this. Keep watching Amphibia. I'm really fascinated to see the directions in which the show goes this season. I want to see what they do with Marcy. I want to see even an episode from her perspective. That would be fascinating, and it would function as a nice counterbalance against the very Anne-heavy tilt the season has had thus far. So anyway, tune in soon for my next analysis. It will be coming soon. Thank you all again. Adios, comrades.